Okay, there we go. Okay, so welcome to today's training on permit writing for the Olympic region. My name is George. I'm with Pro Miles. We're the vendor for the eSNOOPI Pro system. So today we're going to be looking at a few different things in eSNOOPI Pro. Um, these things include account creation, so the process for setting up a new account in eSNOOPI Pro. Then we're going to look at account management, so what all you can do with that account once it's set up and created. Then we're going to do some permit writing, so you can get a kind of look at what that entails in eSNOOPI Pro. And then we're going to have a kind of overview section on routing. We have some team members from our GIS team here on the line that will kind of run through that. And then we'll open up the floor for some questions at the end. That being said, Teams does have a chat function in like your top right hand area. So if you have any questions that come up during the training, feel free to put those questions in the chat. We do have ProMiles team members and also some Washington people on the line as well that can answer those questions as we progress through the training. So there is that. Um, so that's kind of an overview of what we're going to be doing during this training. I do want to note something that we're not going to be covering during this training, and that is the superload process. There will be a future call scheduled to go over that more in depth at a later date. So keep an eye out for that. That being said, let me go ahead and share my screen and we'll get started. Okay. So just want to point out real quick that we're going to be doing this training in our test QA site. That's so we don't introduce any uh, test data into the production site. We don't want to change anything there. And also, I want to note that in case we run into any issues or bugs, this site is always a work in progress. So we may see some weirdness, but we'll work through it if that comes up. So yeah, I'll go ahead and get logged in. All of you should already have username and password for the production site. But if for some reason that's not working, feel free to send us a message in the chat and we'll get you situated. Yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and log in. And the first thing we want to look at is account creation or setting up new accounts in eSNOOPI Pro. So to do that, here on the dashboard, you're going to click the Create Plus link and then Create Company. You'll click this link and that'll bring you to the Create New Account process here. So on this page, you'll have a few different options. We're going to be looking at creating a government agency and creating a company with a USDOT number. We'll start with a government agency. So I'm going to select that in the dropdown and click Create Account. And then this will bring you to a page where you can enter in all of that information for the government agency. So I'm going to set one up for the Olympic region. So we're going to type that in. I'm going to put my own email address as the contact email. See, I have the phone number over here, so I'll copy and paste that. And I have the same situation with the address. So here's the street, city, Lacey, of course, Washington for the state. And then zip code. If the physical address, if the mailing address is the same as the physical address, you do have this option to check this box, and then the system will just copy in that information, so you don't have to type it in all again if the addresses are the same. Okay, so that's the company information, the address information entered. Since this is a government agency and we're just going to be issuing permits to this government agency, I'm going to click this button right here that will gray out these fields since we don't have to actually create a user for this account. If things change down the road and you do have to add a user, you can, but just for account creation purposes, I'm going to create one without a user. Okay, so that should be everything I need entered to create the company. So I'm going to click create company. And since this is a government entity that will be exempt, um, the um, the DOT office will have to approve the account before you can actually issue permits to it. So that's what this message is saying here. So we do have Kit on the line. If you can approve that account when you get a chance, and we'll be able to use that account once we finish setting up a account with a USDOT number. That would be good. So while Kit is approving that account, we'll go ahead and go through the process for creating an account with a USDOT number, since it differs slightly. So I'm back here on the dashboard. I'm going to click create again and create a company again. And then we're back to this.
Approve whenever you're ready. Okay, George? Sorry.
Awesome. No, it's all good. Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah. So we've already done the government agency, so we'll go ahead and look at what the process is like for a USDOT number. So we'll select that option, and we get a field here where you can enter in that USDOT number. Looks like mine is 8259. And you click search. It will pull up the company information. It'll give you the name and address here up front, just to be sure that this is actually the correct USDOT number that you're trying to create a company for. That is correct for me, so I'm going to click create account. And you'll see here, we'll get to that page where we entered in all the company information, but since we're creating one since we're creating one with a USDOT number, most of this information will just be populated. The name, the email, all the contact information is already there. I don't want to send any emails to Chad, so I'm going to go ahead and erase that and put my own. There's that. The physical and mailing address are populated automatically. And for this one, I do want to go ahead and create an account. So I'll create a user for this account that can actually log in to this carrier account. So I'm going to enter in the first and last name for this user. Then you're going to have to create a login name for them. I'm just going to do Pacific Transport. And then I'm going to put my email and a phone number. And then lastly, you'll have to create a password for that user. Just going to do a generic password. Whenever they go to log in for the first time to this new account, they'll be prompted to create their own password, to create a new password and reset it. Okay, so I think that's all the information I need for this account. So I'm going to click create company. And since this one has a USDOT number, the account is automatically created, no approval needed. If you created a user for that company, they can log in immediately, and permits can be issued to this company immediately, no approval needed. So that's what it looks like to create a company with a USDOT number and to create a company for a government agency as well. There is another option here for creating a company without a USDOT number. This pretty much looks exactly the same as creating one for a government agency, where you just fill in all the fields. There won't be any approval required for this either, since it's not going to be exempt, but there is that option as well. Okay, so we'll go ahead and move on to account management. Since Kit has approved that government agency for us, we should be able to pull it up here. So we're going Olympic region. You can see we've created quite a few Washington DOT regions, companies in this test environment. So yeah, this is the company management page. You can see all of the contact information that was entered during account creation. I do want to note here that this exempt allowed is checked, because this is a government agency and there won't be any permit fees for permits issued to them. So here on the side, we have this company assets link, and this will let you kind of manage additional aspects of this company. So think if you need to ever change the physical or mailing address, you do have that option. You can make any changes and click submit. You do have the option to create terminals. So I'm going to go ahead and create a few terminals for this government agency. Click create new, and they'll give you all the fields to create the terminal. I'm going to create a terminal for Tacoma. I'm going to enter my email address for this one and a phone number. And then I do also want to select a delivery method here for permits that are issued to this terminal. Once you have your information entered, you can click submit, and that will save that terminal to this company. So you can see here in the drop down now we have Tacoma. And you can create more than one. So I'm gonna do create terminal again and create new. And I'm gonna create one for Aberdeen as well. And this one will be Kit's terminal. And then we'll do email for that too. And then once you have all your terminal information entered, you click submit. That will get added to the company. So you can see here in the drop down now we have an option for Tacoma and then one for Aberdeen. So pretty simple in terms of adding terminals. The last thing I want to show here in the account management section is adding vehicles to the companies. So down here we do have a vehicle inventory. Obviously, since this is a new company, there's no vehicles added. So I'm going to create new, and that will give us all of the fields for the vehicle information. So I'm going to go ahead and add one. My unit number is 11. Looks like my make is Freightliner, and this is 2021. I do have the VIN here that I'm just going to copy and paste. The same with the plate. And this vehicle is in Washington. I do have a registered GVW, so a Washington registered GVW, so I'm going to go ahead and enter that as well. This one is 80,000, and then you do have the option to assign the vehicle to one of the terminals if a terminal has been created for the company. And then this is a tractor trailer, so I'm going to select that for the vehicle type, and that should be all the fields needed to add the vehicle to the inventory. So click submit, and that vehicle will be added. And this will make it easier. You'll see here in a few minutes whenever we go to write permits so you don't have to type in the vehicle information every single time. So there's that vehicle I added, now saved in the inventory. Before we jump to permit writing, I do want to just bring up you see I added a vehicle like individually here. There will be an enhancement coming in the future that allows you to just upload a vehicle inventory spreadsheet. This is the template that we have in place for that. You'll be able to download this template from the site once that feature gets added. But I just wanted to give you a little preview. So in the template here, you can see we have columns for all of the fields I just entered when I added that vehicle to this company. So a place for the unit number, for the model year, a place to enter the make, of course. You do have to enter the entire make. So think of don't enter an abbreviation or an acronym or anything like that. We do need the entire make so the system will know what make to put for that vehicle. And same goes with the VIN, plate, state, the type. So think like single unit or tractor trailer, those kind of vehicle combination options. If there's a terminal that you want to assign that vehicle to, you would enter that here. And then if there's a Washington registered GVW, you could enter that here as well, and that would be pulled into the system when you upload the spreadsheet. So yeah, just wanted to give you a quick kind of preview of what that will look like in the future. Okay, so now that I've created this company, it's been approved, we've made a few company management updates, we've added a vehicle, I think we're ready to go ahead and jump to actually writing some permits. So to do that, from the dashboard, you would click that same Create Plus button up here, but we have an option here for permit. So you would do that, and that will start the application process for a permit. Um, so here on the first page, you're going to select which company you're going to be writing this permit for. I'm going to be doing 2 permits for the Olympic region we just created. So I'm going to select Olympic region from that search results and click next. After selecting a company, you'll have a page to enter all the contact information. Most of this information will be automatically populated from what's saved in the company information, of course, but you do have the option to change any of this if needed. I'm going to enter myself as the contact name, but if you needed to change the contact email or how you wanted the permit delivered after it's issued, you can do that here. There is a field down here at the bottom called company reference. This field is not required, but it does give you a handy place to put in maybe a job number or some other kind of number that you want to keep track of, um, permits issued to. So if you want to be able to pull that up in the future, you would enter that here at the bottom. So that's the contact information screen. And click next. The first permit we're going to write is a government vehicles permit. So that's going to be under the monthly annual permit type. When you click that, it'll give you another drop down where you can select from all of the monthly annual permits in the system. Like I said, we're going to be doing a government vehicles one, so I'm going to select that. And whenever you select a permit definition, it will give you a little description, a little summary of what that permit is and what it's used for, just to be sure you're heading in the right direction. Down here at the bottom, you can select a start date in the future if needed. Defaults to the current date, but if you need to, I don't know, start 2 weeks in the future, you can do that here, and you can see the end date automatically populates based on any changes that you make. But I'm gonna make it start today, and then click next. Okay, so the next screen is the vehicle screen. Since I have a vehicle already saved in my inventory, you can click this Find from Inventory button and it will pull up all those vehicles that you have saved. I just have the one, so it's pretty simple to just select it and use this vehicle for this permit. But if the company that you're issuing the permit for ends up having a lot of vehicles in their inventory, there are some search fields up here for unit number, VIN, or plate to help you kind of narrow down that list and find the specific vehicle that you're looking to write the permit for. But I just have the one, so I'm going to do that one and click OK. And then it will populate all of that information for me. So that's all good, so I can click Next. And that will bring us to the load details. For the government vehicles permit, most of the dimensions are preset. So you can see that here, that this is what the permit allows for. The only field that I need to enter something in is width, and it looks like my width is 10 feet. So I'm going to do that. And like I said, everything else is preset, so we can move on to the next page. Okay, so this is the axle weight and spacing screen. So there are a few things I want to touch on here. If you have an axle spacing report for this vehicle, you can click this Load Axles from Report button, and that will give you the option to enter that report number, include the weights, and then click Load, and then it will automatically just enter in that information for you. I don't have an axle spacing report for this vehicle, so I'm going to enter in my information manually, so you can kind of get a view of what that looks like too, if that's what you need to do. So it looks like my vehicle has 6 axles. So let me go ahead and add all those. I'm going to enter in my spacings. Like 27 feet and 4 feet. and then my weights. And it looks like this vehicle is just 18,000 across all axles. So to make things easier, I'm just gonna copy and paste 18,000. And then I'm gonna enter my tread width because my number of tires all looks good. Looks like it's 18 and the next three are 16. And then my last two are 18. And you do have the options to change the axle type too if you have any drop axles or anything like that with this vehicle. I don't, so the default options are good for me. So yeah, that's my axle weight and spacings entered. So I'm gonna click next. Then I'll bring you to the conditions screen. So this will just show you the conditions that are applicable to this specific permit. You do have the option to add additional permits, edit them, or completely remove them if needed. So I'm going to click next. Since since the Olympic region is exempt, you'll see there's no fees for this permit. And then here we have the summary screen, which is just a page where we display all of the previously entered information um, that you entered during the permit writing process. So the company that this permit is going to be issued for, if there's any fees, the contact information from that first screen, the permit information, duration, the vehicle information, load and dimensions, the axle weights and spacings, the conditions. It's all here on this last screen, so you can kind of review it before the permit actually gets issued. So all my information is good and I'm ready to issue this. So I'm going to click this approve button. The status will get set to approved for this permit, but that doesn't mean it's issued yet. Um, so you do have to click this issue and print permits button. And this will bring you to the permit to be authorized page. And this page will outline any fees, but of course, since we're working with an exempt company, there won't be any. We'll have to click the acknowledgement and then click this print permits button. Once you do that, excuse me, then the permit will actually be issued. You'll have a permit number, and then you can immediately get access to the PDF here. So if you click that, the PDF will download. We can take a quick look at that. Most of the permit PDFs look pretty much the same. It's just, displaying the specific information. You can see here at the top, we have government vehicles permit. We have all the vehicle information, the width that was entered, the axle weights and spacings that I entered earlier. Any conditions for this specific permit, the signature page, and of course the standard regulations and conditions attachments that are attached to every single permit PDF. So yeah, you can quickly get access to it once the permit is issued. So that one is complete. I'm gonna do one more permit to give you an idea of what that one looks like. Because of course the screens of the permit application process kind of differ depending on what permit type you are writing. So I'm going to do another one for the Olympic region. So let me pull that up. So there's the Olympic region. We're going to select that. Here's the contact information again. This screen is the same across all permit types. Like I said before, it'll be populated automatically, but you can change anything as needed. For this second permit, we're going to be doing a non-divisible. So that's also under monthly annual. So I'm going to select that again. And then we're going to do non-divisible from this list. The non-divisible permit does have duration options, so you can select if you want, however many months you need to issue this permit for. I'm going to do 6 months. And these work the same like they did with the government vehicles, where you can select a future date if needed, and the end date will update in accordance to what you select for the start date. But like I said, I'm going to do 6 months for this permit and click next. And then the vehicle screen, I have one in my inventory that I know this permit is for, so I'm going to click that button again, select it, and then all of that vehicle information will just be populated. Click next. And then here on the load details page for a non-divisible load, it's a little bit different. There's no place to enter any dimensions, but we do have to select what this permit will be for. So we do have the option for width and height or length, or you can do both. So pretty simple in terms of selecting what dimensions are needed for this specific permit. Like I said, I'm going to do both and then click next. And then they'll bring us to the conditions page. There are quite a few more conditions than there were for the government vehicles permit earlier. But like I said, with that one, you can add, edit, delete as needed. So I'm going to click next. Once again, the fees page is displayed, but of course, since this is an exempt government agency, there are no fees. I'll click next. And then this is the summary page. So here, once again, it just displays all the information we kind of entered and went through during the process of writing this permit. So the company, fees, contact information, the permit definition that was selected, non-divisible load in this case, the duration, vehicle information, the width, height, and load length that we selected. We wanted both options, so that's all there. And then the conditions from the previous page. So this all looks good to me, so I'm going to click approve. Like I said before, the status gets set to approved. And then it's not actually issued yet, so you got to be sure and issue and print the permits. There's no fee. So we can click the acknowledgement button and then click print permits to actually issue the permit and get access to the PDF. So now we have that permit number and we can download the PDF. So real quick, a look here. Like I said, most of these permits look the same in terms of layout. Of course, this is non-divisible load up here at the top. We have the dimensions that we selected when we ordered it. Conditions, signature section, and then the regulations and conditions attachments. So there's that. So that concludes my portion of the training. Like I said up top, we do have our GIS team here that's going to give us kind of an overview of what routing looks like in eSNOOPI Pro. So that being said, Caitlin, are you going to be doing that for this training?
Yes, I am.
Okay, well, then I'll
Um,
stop sharing.
Thanks, George.
Mhm.
I'll go ahead and start sharing my screen. Y'all over. Okay, so like George said, I'm just going to be giving a super high level, kind of like a routing training, some things you'll see on the routing page, some of the map functions, the different location types that you can use, and all of that good stuff. So this is what you're going to see when you first get to the routing page. I'm on the routing page now. This is going to be your default. It's always going to set to address as the default. And then if you click this location type drop down, you'll see there's a bunch of other different location types that we can use. And I'm just going to go over each one of those with you guys. So the first location type that we're going to use is an address and an intersection. So for the address, I'm just going to go ahead and plug in an address on Washington 26 in Royal City. And for my destination, I'm going to use an intersection. So I'm going to go down to this destination location type. I'm going to go below address and click intersection from the drop down. From there, you'll see that we have our two streets in our city as not set because, of course, we have not found our intersection yet. So to do that, I'm going to use this find intersection button. I'm going to click that. And you'll notice that we have intersection of street 1, street 2, and then we have a city as well that's optional. So for this intersection, I'm going to use Washington 20 and Washington 21. And now that I have both of those streets put in, I'm going to go ahead and click this bind button. And what that's going to do is the system's just going to look for every point at which these two streets intersect. So it found two, R1 and R2 balloon. From here, you'll want to verify, obviously, which location you're actually starting at. You don't want to just assume that number one's going to be the best choice, or you don't want to just assume that the balloon is where you're actually starting. You want to zoom in and make sure that where you're starting is accurate based off of the information you're given. So for this intersection, I'm just going to choose this first balloon that looks good as to where I want to end our route. So I'm going to click the balloon, and you'll notice that it now changes to this little D red balloon. That's for our destination. I'm going to go ahead and click done. And you'll notice that now we have a populated street, 1, 2, and then the city. And now that I have my address and my destination as my intersection, I'm going to go ahead and click route. And what the system is doing after you click route is it's just taking into consideration your dimensions, your permit type, any restrictions on the map, and then of course your origin and destination. And it's going to give you what it deems the best route based off of all of that information. So you'll notice that we have our origin here with this green balloon, our destination with this red balloon, and then we have a blue route line in the middle. Below the map, you can see if you have any pilot or escort requirements. You can click your dimensions and see what dimensions you have set. If you had any restrictions that were overridden, they would be here. You can see your bridges crossed on route, which you can see we cross a lot. And then we have our turn-by-turn driving directions. You'll see we have our origin as Washington 26 and our destination at that intersection. So before we move on to the next location type, I just wanted to show you guys a few quick functions of the actual map itself. So the first thing I'll show you guys is the highlights we have on the map. So one thing you'll notice is if you zoom in, there's going to be some green highlighted roads, and then there's going to be just regular roads here that are in white. The green highlighted roads are what we call our on-system roads. So Washington, of course, is only routing and permitting on state maintained roads. So your Washington roads, your US highways, and your interstates. So the green highlight layer is just a really good way of pointing those out to you. So anytime you're permitting, you'll want to choose an on-system road. If you start on an off-system road, meaning just a local road, the system will prompt you to choose the closest on-system road. So those are what those green highlights are. You can turn those on and off. Some people have said that they're like a little bit harder to like hard of seeing. So they will turn this on and off just to see the Google Map layer a little bit better. We also have our regions and maintenance areas that you can turn on and off, and that will just divide each region by their border. And then normally in production, like George said, this is a test site. Normally in production, when you hover over each of these areas, it'll tell you what the maintenance area is. So I'm going to turn that off. And like I said, I think things are just a little bit buggy today. Here, I'm going to reroute and see if that'll clear it. It may or may not. Okay, we'll just work through that. And then we also have our restriction highlights, which if you zoom in and notice any of these red highlighted roads, these are all roads that have restrictions on them. So like I said, the system will highlight these roads based on the restriction placed on the road. And if it's highlighted, that means it is applicable to the permit based off of the permit type or the dimensions. So if you're ever curious about what a restriction is and why it's causing something not to route or why the system's routing around it, You can always zoom in, use this get restriction information for road button or radio button, and you can zoom into the road, click it, and it'll tell you all the restrictions on that road segment. So I'm going to close that. Another cool feature is if you're ever somewhere on the map and you're wondering maybe what does that look like in Google, you can zoom in, and over here on the bottom left-hand corner, there's a little Google link. You can click it, and it'll actually open that area in Google for you. We also have up here in the top right-hand corner, we have different views. So we can turn on a terrain view and turn that off. We have a satellite view, and you can turn that off. You can, of course, toggle this to full screen up here at the top right-hand corner and get out of that. You can zoom in and out using this little plus and minus arrow. You can use your scroll wheel. Another cool little function that we have, we call him our little Google Ped Man over here in the bottom right-hand corner. You can grab him and drop him on a road, and it'll actually show you what Google Street View looks like in that area. And you can, of course, toggle that full screen up here as well. I'm going to go ahead and exit out of it at this top left-hand corner. And so those are some of the really cool functions of the map itself. So I'm going to go ahead and go back up to our trip entry. I'm going to go ahead and clear it just to get the slate clean. And I'm going to go on to our next location type, which is going to be a lat long. So I'm going to go to location type. I'm going to choose latitude and longitude. And with the lat long location type, there's two ways that you can do this. If you already have a lat long, let's just say you're in Google Maps or you've been given a lat long, you can take it and you can just paste it in here, and the website's going to automatically separate that latitude and longitude. Or if you're unsure of where you're starting out and you want to find the lat long, you can choose this find button here right underneath it. And it's going to give you a focus city. You can also just scroll in and out. It's up to you. For this, I'm going to use the focus city, and I'm going to start us off in Ritzville. So I have that chosen. I'm going to click go. And it is going to zoom us in to the city of Ritzville. From there, I'm going to use this select radio button up here at the top left-hand corner. And I'm just going to zoom in and choose an on-system road to start off on. For this specific one, I'm just going to choose this ramp off of I-90. And I'm going to click it. And you'll see it drops a green origin balloon. From there, I can click done once I'm satisfied with where I'm starting. So I'm going to click done, and then it goes ahead and it fills in that latitude and longitude. For my destination, I'm going to choose a border crossing. So for location type, I'm going to go down, hit border crossing, and I'm just going to choose I-205 at the Oregon border. You'll notice that there is a pre-selected list that you can enter and exit the state on. So I'm going to choose I-205, and now that I have my origin and destination, I'm going to go ahead and click route. And from there, once again, the system's just taking in everything that you've input, and it's giving you a route based off of that. We have our origin, our destination, and our blue route line. And for this next one, I'm going to show you some mileposts. So for the milepost location type, this one is pretty commonly used just because I know people are used to routing with mileposts in the old eSNOOPI. So for milepost, I'm just going to choose this last location type here. And milepost is similar to lat long, where you can search these two ways. So if you already know which milepost you're starting out on, you can choose. So I'm just going to choose I-82. I'm going to choose my direction is eastbound, and you'll notice right below the route and the direction, it's going to give you the max milepost that you can put in for that route. So the max milepost I could put would be 132. For this, I'm just going to choose milepost 50. And I can go ahead and route using that. And it's just going to start me out on I-82 in the eastbound direction at milepost 50. The other way that you can do this is you can use this find button the same way that you could with lat longs. So I can click find, and you'll notice there's going to be a ton of orange circles. These all represent different latitude and longitudes. So I have my I-82 eastbound at milepost 50. I can click go, and it will zoom me in. It'll give me my route, my direction, the milepost, and a lat long. Once I'm good with that origin, I can use the select button, and it'll give me a green origin balloon. We can hit done. And once again, we can route. Of course, it's going to give me the same route because that was the first milepost that we chose to put in anyways. But it'll give me a route there. Two more things I wanted to show you guys was they have what we call min-max bridges. So for this, I'm actually going to go back previous, and I'm going to up my height a little bit. So I'm going to up my height to 14.8. I'm going to click next. The system's telling me that I need to be rerouted because I have a change in my dimensions. So for this, I'm going to choose the border crossing of I-205, going to the border crossing of I-5, and I'm going to go ahead and route. And you'll see I have a normal route here, origin, destination, blue route line. But one thing you'll notice if you go below the map is we have a section called min-max bridges. This just means that there are certain bridges in Washington where you can travel under the bridge between a minimum height and a maximum height, depending on the lane you're in because of the way the bridge is. So it'll give you those bridges underneath here. You'll see the minimum height of the bridge, the maximum height you can be. We have the restrict option, which I can show you guys here in a second. And then we also have under actions where you can view the bridge on map. It'll zoom you in as to where the bridge is, and it'll give you that bridge name. And then we also have this image here. This is an image of the bridge. It'll give you the height per lane, and this will also print on a hauler's PDF as well. So if a hauler is ever just a little bit nervous about crossing under a specific bridge for whatever reason, they can go and use this restrict checkbox. So for instance, for this bridge, I'm just going to pretend that hauler is not comfortable traveling under it. The rest are fine, but this specific one we're not comfortable with. I'm going to go ahead and click this restrict checkbox. I'm going to go back up to my trip entry, and I'm going to reroute. And the system will go ahead and avoid that bridge. We already viewed it on the map, so we know where it is. And we can see now that the system is avoiding the bridge here on I-5. So those are some very cool functions with the min-max bridges. And then I know Justin has requested in the past that we show you guys a split trip to show you how you can get around particular restrictions using our split trip function. So that's the last thing I'm going to show you guys really quick. I'm going to go back to previous, and I'm going to up my height again. We'll just do 15.8. I'm going to go next. Once again, the system's prompting me to reroute the map because we have changed our dimensions. So I am going to change our lat long. We are going to start off at a latitude and longitude that I've already chosen. And we're going to end at the Idaho border on I-90. I'm going to go ahead and route. And you'll see that the system is giving me a route failure. This is up here, this yellow banner. It's just saying that my route requested was unable to be accommodated. I can try a different route, or the hauler can request routing assistance, which they can use this checkbox, put in the information, and then submit the permit for review. But for this, I'm just going to show you guys how you can get around a restriction. So you'll see a difference here between a routed permit and a route failure is you will still have this origin and destination, but you're not going to have a blue route line like we previously did, because of course the route could not be accommodated. So what I'm going to do is I already know which restriction is causing this route failure, but if you're ever curious, you can find these red restriction highlights and get the restriction information for road. And you'll see that there are a few heights here on I-90 eastbound that are going to cause us to create a route failure because of our height of 15.8. So for this, I am just going to pretend that the hauler wanted to start here. They have some local approvals already that they're going to get where they can start here at this green origin balloon. They're going to ramp off of I-90 here to avoid this restriction. They're going to take some local roads, and then they just want to get back onto the state maintained road here on this on-ramp of I-90, and then continue on to their destination at the Idaho border. So in order to do that, I'm going to change my destination to a lat long. I'm going to use find, and I'm going to zoom in to where they want to end their state maintained travel. So this is the end or the destination of their first trip. So they're going to start here. They want to end on this off ramp. So I've used my select radio button. I'm going to choose the on system road that they want to end on, place my destination there, hit done, and I'm just going to route so I can see what I already have going on. And you'll see the system let me do that because I'm avoiding the height on the main lane. So now I'm routing from here to here. And then I want to take some local roads, start here on the on-ramp, and go all the way to I-90. So I'm going to go back up to my trip entry. I'm going to use this add split trip function. I'm going to click that. And you'll see I have a split one now. So under my split one, I'm going to choose my origin as a lat long. I'm going to click find again, and I'm going to zoom in, and I'm going to find where we want to start our on system travel again. So I know that they want to get onto this on ramp here. I'm going to use this select radio button, and I'm going to click where they're entering the on system. You see, I now have a little green balloon. Instead of an O where you see origin, it's going to be a 1 for your first split. If you had multiple splits, you'd see 1, 2, 3, so on and so forth. So now that I'm comfortable with that, I'm going to go ahead and hit done. And for my destination, I'm going to choose the I-90 line for Idaho, and I'm going to click route. And you'll see now that we do have a trip. Let's see. Route failure, let's think. Like I said, this is our test site, so sometimes things are kind of buggy. Let's try and route again. There we go. This obviously would not happen in production. This is just our test site. So you'll see that we have our route. It has us going from our main lane on I-90. We're routing around this restriction here by getting off of this off ramp. We're taking some local roads, getting back onto this on ramp here, traveling up I-90, and then finishing our trip at the border. And then one thing to note with split trips is you'll see them split up in the turn-by-turn driving directions as well. So you see we have our first trip, I-90 to the ramp, our second trip, the I-90 ramp to the Idaho border. So that is just a way that you can get around route failures or restrictions using the split trip. And that is all that I had for you guys in order to demo. So I'll go ahead and stop sharing my screen. And then I know George and I were leaving this open for any questions that you guys might have that you didn't put in the chat.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you, Kaylin. So I see that Kit went ahead and answered one of the questions that was put in the chat about the QR code on the permit. I still have that PDF pulled up. So I figured I would share my screen again and pull this up if Michelle or anybody else on the training wants to take out their phone and try to scan the QR code so they can see that permit details page that Kit mentioned. I don't know if the quality over the Teams screen share will be good enough, but you can give it a shot. It's a pretty neat feature that just quickly pulls up all the permit details for this specific permit. But that being said, Justin or anybody from that team, do you have anything you'd want to add before we take questions?
I can talk real quick on the QR code. It's already shown its value with enforcement and with carriers, as far as we've had one attempt to modify the PDF document, and it was quickly discovered that it was a modified document by using the QR code. And then on top of that, as we kind of progress into superloads and bringing superloads into the new permit system, getting comfortable and familiar with kind of jumping through the new permit program. You're not going to break anything as long as you don't buy anything. It's not going to hurt it. So if you have a login, jump in. If you don't have a login, contact Commercial Vehicle Services and we'll set you up and get you going. That's really all I had, George.
Okay, sounds good. So yeah, if anybody has any questions, feel free to speak up, put in the chat, whatever makes you feel more comfortable. Nice, I see Michelle said that it works. Yeah, I wasn't sure if the if it would come through the Teams screen share.
I'm sorry, I missed the first part of the training. I was on a call, but there are a lot of people in here using it. We're getting about 600 to 700 permits daily that are being issued through it. And as officers or people are starting to see it, if anybody has any questions at all, direct them to us. And then additionally, if people come to your office and they have a need or a concern, you can always direct them to us or attempt to answer it too. You'll have full access to set up accounts. You'll have full access to reset passwords if a carrier does have an issue. And then we can have more training as we go into this further. With superloads coming, though, the superintendents and people that need to review superloads, a lot of those review processes will take place as a link that's sent out through Outlook to your inbox. And then you'll be able to click directly into the program to review a superload request or something like that. So we'll have more training as we get closer to that. Thank you, George. Thank you, Kaylin.
Very welcome.
Thank you. Okay, so I guess we'll go ahead and wrap up. Thank you everyone for attending. And like Justin said, if there's any questions, just send them our way.
We do have a hand raised.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, Cliff Whitehill out of Olympic region here. Just wanting to know where this recording is going to be because I missed the first part of the training as well and would like to catch up with the first 7 minutes of it.
Yeah, for sure. Kit, do you know where we're going to be putting this recording?
We'll hi Cliff, this is Kit. We'll save this recording. We'll get it hosted on a YouTube, and we'll get that sent out over to Justin. He can distribute that to you guys. Is that okay?
Perfect. Thank you.
Yes, sir. All right. If anybody else has any other questions or needs or anything like that, feel free to reach out to our team at any time. We appreciate everybody's time.
All right, take care, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you guys.
Bye.
Have a good day.
Bye.